Memorial Day is here, and traditionally in baseball, it's when the contenders start to separate themselves from the pretenders in the pennant races. But in 2012, will that really be the case? Hey everybody, it's Paulie. Welcome back to This Week in Red, where we're talking all things Red Sox and Major League Baseball. The unofficial start to summer, Memorial Day weekend, has arrived. And traditionally in baseball, it's the point when the teams that are really serious about contending for the pennant in baseball start to separate themselves from the pretenders. But this season, there's such a jumble of teams that are hovering around the 500 mark or a few games over that it's very hard to tell who the serious contenders will be in September. There's only 4 teams in baseball right now: Baltimore, Washington, Texas, and the Dodgers, that are 10 games or more over 500. And among those teams, Baltimore and Washington can't really be considered serious contenders. Can they? I mean, they haven't really had any track record in the last decade or so of being serious contenders. But if you look at these two teams and you start to talk about them, you say one thing over and over: it's getting late, they're going to fade, they're going to go into a swoon. Well, you know what? Neither of these teams has done so thus far. And I really don't expect them to. Especially Washington with all that young talent. They've got some pretty good pitching, and I think they're going to hang in there in the National League East, a division where all the teams are over 500, even the Phillies, who are in last place. And over in the AL East, everybody keeps saying that the Orioles are going to get overtaken by the Yankees or the Rays or the Red Sox, but hey, the Yankees and Red Sox got a lot of injury problems. And the Rays, they're having some injury issues as well, with Evan Longoria out of the lineup. So it's not certain if any of those teams is going to be capable of overtaking the Orioles, who continue to get outstanding pitching. And as I've said before on this program, if the Orioles get outstanding pitching, to add to their very good lineup, the Orioles are going to be a force into September and possibly beyond. So baseball right now is very confusing during this season because, as I said, a lot of teams are bunched together, so it's hard to say who's going to separate themselves as we get into the later part of the summer and into September. And I think the keys will be a very active trade market this year. I think that'll be a big key. Some team's going to make a big acquisition at the trade deadline in July, and that might just be the thing that'll put them over the hump. So right now, I don't have any predictions as far as who's going to do what later in the season into September, but I will say this: I do expect the Washingtons and the Baltimores of the world to hang in the pennant races, and they're going to be very serious contenders late in the season. I think you're going to see that play out over the summer. As for some of the better teams like Texas and the Dodgers that are, again, 10 games or more over 500, I think they will continue to control those divisions, and I think each of those teams will win the Western Division. But as for the rest of baseball and who's going to win the wild cards and who's going to win the other divisions, it's going to be a very interesting summer because, as I said, everyone's bunched together, and it might take a 9 or 10 game winning streak for somebody to separate themselves. So it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on who can put those streaks together. But for you guys, what do you think will happen with this baseball season? What teams do you see that are hovering around 500 now? Now that summer's arrived, what teams are ready to make their move? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends about This Week in Red.